How's it going? Ryan here for a quick tutorial video. I just want to show you how to make 118 or 124 shocks with negative springs, and this can potentially eliminate the need for a limiting strap. So what's a negative spring? It's simply an opposing spring that counteracts the main spring. In these shocks I have right here, the coil that wraps around the body pushes the shocks to extend. There is nothing limiting it, so when the wheels are up in the air, the shocks tend to max out its travel. For RC crawlers, too much extension or droop on the front end can cause the chassis and body to lift too much, and in certain scenarios, it can cause the crawler to tip over. This is the reason why some folks are using limiting straps. It's a simple solution, but in some cases, a limiting strap could quite literally limit the performance. So a good alternative would be shocks that have positive and negative springs. So here's how I did mine. In these 53mm TRX4M shocks, first, I replaced the factory spring with a smaller and shorter spring that hugs around the piston rod. So I can remove this bottom spring plate because they tend to drop out on the trail, and that's annoying. Also, the factory springs often rub against the tires, which causes the preload collar to turn, and that's equally annoying. I haven't removed this collar yet because I'll be dressing up the body with aluminum tubing that turns. Anyway, the spring diameter is 4mm and it's 10mm long, with a wire thickness of 0.3mm. This feels close to the factory springs, but a little bit more springy on the rebound, so I'll probably put some oil for that. Please note the specs are for the 6x6 TRX4M that I'm currently building, which will probably weigh around 800 to 900 grams. So if you're going for a lighter setup, you can probably try a smaller wire thickness like 0.25 or 0.2mm. Next, I placed another spring on the piston rod inside the tube. This now acts as the negative spring. It pushes back to compress instead of maxing out the travel. It's half the length of the spring outside, so the shocks sit at around 30% compressed without weight. What's good about this is that it doesn't really lose all of the extra travel. When the tire on the opposite side is pressed hard on the rocks, the shocks will still extend to give you that extra reach. The negative spring I used here inside is shorter than the positive spring. You can also use equal lengths for both positive and negative, or you can use a longer negative and a shorter positive if you want the shocks to sit low. So to wrap this up, this setup is smooth at the mid-range, but it's stiff at the low end and high end. One disadvantage here is that you'll get a shorter range of travel as the springs take up some space. But the good thing is that it keeps the shocks within the ride height and the range of compression and extension that you want, because the springs counteract each other. Also, this setup allows you to remove the bottom spring plate and the springs don't rub against the tire anymore. So that's it for this quick video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, or if you think there's a better way that we can do this. Anyway, thanks for watching and keep rocking!